Hey guys, welcome back. So it's been a few days since my first video on bass shakers, my just dipping the toes into the experience. Time for an upgrade. I actually had this ordered just a day after that video came out. And this is an upgraded unit. 4 of them, as a matter of fact. And I'm not doing this because I want more shake, but I want more of the shake. Let me explain. So I was watching, I believe it was Bloodshot, and there was a scene, I don't remember which one it was. The bass was going, subs were rocking, couch was shaking, everything was cool. And then all of a sudden in the scene, sound's still there, bass is still there from the subs, but couch stopped shaking. I'm thinking, oh boy, did it overheat? Did some connection go wrong? Amp was still on, so everything was fine there. Long story short, the Aura Pros only go down to 20 hertz. And they do a very good job of doing so. But that means I'm missing everything below that. Single digits through the teens, which is quite a lot of information, especially for such a thing. So, did some research. This is the next step. Certainly not the best, but it's the next step, both in price and performance. So the Aura Pros are 50 bucks a piece. These are 100 bucks a piece. I got these specifically because it's really the easiest upgrade from where I'm at now. Anything beyond this requires an all-new system, an all-new amp or amps. These will work directly, unbolting the ones I have, same wiring, same impedance, same power handling capability, but these, they go down to either 5 or 10. It depends on who you ask. The Buttkicker manual says they go down to 5. All the stores and information about the specs say they go down to 10. I'm happy enough with either one for 100 bucks a piece. We'll be testing it and we'll be comparing the actual results in the couch between the two of them. So these units are very similar to the Aura Pros. They should actually be a little bit smaller, which is good because I don't want to have to create any mounts or anything. I should be able to just take the mounts off the couch, unbolt them or unscrew them, and screw these on with a different bolt pattern. These take 3, the Aura Pros take 4 screws, but they're the same impedance, 4 ohms each. I can wire them in the same series parallel configuration I have now. It'll present the same load to the amp, and they're still within the power handling limits of them. They recommend 50 watts RMS for both units. So here we have the unit. It is a little bit taller than the Aura Pros, but a smaller diameter by a couple inches. Feels a little bit lighter, just a little bit. And instead of speaker terminals, we have a speaker wire tail. And that's about it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these wired up. While I have the mounts off the couch, I'm gonna buzz off those bolts that I left a little bit long, since I'll be out there anyway. And then we'll get to the fun stuff, the actual comparisons. I'll show you some data and how I got it, and I'll give you my subjective thoughts on it too. Oh, I didn't mention, these are the Buttkicker Mini LFEs. So what I'm doing for comparisons here, and I'm going to do it this way because I've seen so many comparisons and reviews of tactile transducers where people are just putting them on a counter or on a piece of wood or shaking a glass of water, something stupid like that. That is not indicative at all of what you're getting out of this stuff. You have to feel it mounted in the seat. And I'm going to try to show you some measurements by this app here. It's called Vibe Sensor. And there is a pretty standard test online that's been going on for years with people to do exactly this. And it uses the opening from Edge of Tomorrow. It's just a 20-second clip where it's basically the hot sine waves in the opening from 30 down to 10. 30, 25, 20, 15, and 10 hertz tones. That's part of the movie. Be very, very careful if you play this on lesser subs, on small subs. If you have it cranked up too loud, which on small subs isn't that loud, you can very easily blow your voice coil because the movie intro is turned way up from the movie level. So it's like cranking your volume another several notches than normal. So be very wary about playing this demo. Anyway, we're going to use that 20 seconds. It's a standardized system that they've got here. And this is going to give us all kinds of data. It is using all the sensors in the iPad or iPhone. And this is going to record it, and then I'll be able to show you charts. I'm going to do 4 tests. One with, as I have everything set up, the subs playing and the auras in the configuration that I've got them to my taste. They're not overwhelming. They blend in with the subs. I'm not going to touch anything between tests. Amp is going to sit there. It's going to be at the same levels for everything. Then I'm going to turn off the subs and just do a test of the aura alone. So we'll be able to see exactly what they're doing as opposed to also what the subs are doing. Spoiler alert, I've done this already. And you feel a lot once the couch drops off because these twin SB16s are just hammering the hell out of the couch on their own. And once you get below 20, it's all subs. It's kind of hard to tell. They're putting out a lot of energy. So then I'll switch, tip the couch up, take the modules off, put on the butt kickers, won't change any of the levels or settings, and we'll do the same 2 tests. And then I'll be able to show you charts. That had me a little worried there for a second. I heard what sounded like a blown voice coil, but no, it was the door just pressurizing and rattling. So you do really get a ton of great info out of this app. It's really fun just to play with. The vibration tab is what we're going to be primarily looking at for this kind of comparison. This is a 30 hertz tone. This is 25, 20, 15, and 10. So here is the boundary between what shakers are contributing or not. Everything down here is just pure sub. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the subs off, and we'll do a run with just the shakers on right now. So very interestingly, this is the data with just the shakers. That was subs off. And you could hear a little bit when you're not sitting on the couch rattling around. But, there's more in this from just the shakers than I thought. I thought this would be picking up a lot of the sub energy. What's interesting is seeing data on the chart here for sub 20. Very interesting. It's definitely not translating to what's in my butt. So I'm going to play this just to give my subjective thoughts, and we'll see how it translates to what I'm seeing. First one, I feel it. Second one, a lot lower. Third one, I can barely feel a thing. Fourth one, yeah, I kind of feel it, but it's not translating. And then the fifth one, I can barely feel. So that's interesting. Either the chart I saw online was wrong, and these are not going down to 10 hertz, or something's up in these aura are going well under 20 hertz. Now, what's interesting is I ran REW and I used the tone generator, and they were indeed cutting off at 20 as their specs say. So interesting. But yeah, these 3 here hardly felt at all. And if the chart I saw was accurate, that's at 20 and below. This one here might just be a resonance, and that's why it's acting on the iPad sitting on the couch. Plus, I'm sitting on the couch versus the iPad just sitting on the springs on the couch. So there's certainly going to be a resonance transmitted through the seat. All right, out with the aura. Here you can see the size difference between the two. Fairly similar footprint, but the diameter of the inner unit, well, you know what? Looking at it, they're about the same. It's these heatsink fins that are really throwing it off, and they are almost exactly the same as far as the device itself. The butt kicker is just a little bit higher. They also give you these brackets to mount sideways, so if you do have to mount into the side of your couch or whatever, you can still maintain this vertically, which is important. That's pretty cool. Okay, let's screw it on. All right, put in different bolts. Mounted the new unit down as low as possible so it'll sit over the frame. One down. Here to go. Got everything wired up before I put everything back down. Gonna do a quick function check. Have the subs off, just these on. And we have motion. So just feeling with my hand, that last tone is definitely way quieter than the other ones, but it was extending all the way down. So these are definitely going down to 10 hertz. I don't buy 5, I really don't. Maybe they're fudging the numbers on that. Even the sticker on the side says they go down to 5. I can already tell just by feeling these that I'm gonna have to turn that amp maybe all the way up. I'm thinking these are gonna need a lot more power. I'm at the lower end of the power range for these, whereas that amp was maxing out the Aura Pros. So I think these are running more inefficient, and I think to really bring them alive, they're gonna need some more power. So might have to think about that. But I'm gonna flip this down and try it right now, and we'll just see what we feel. Might be enough. All right, first a completely subjective test. Everything is at the same levels. This is just the butt kickers, no subs. So you probably won't hear anything. All right, feels about the same for the first tone, about the same for the second tone. Third one's a little lower. Fourth one's not bad. Fifth one I can barely feel. So that one at 10, yeah, that's pretty weak. So now let's bump this amp up a little bit. We'll go to 9 out of 10, just see what it's got. First tone's good, second's good, third's good, fourth is better. Fifth is still definitely weaker than the others. I'd say about half the strength, but that's not bad. Hardly anything is going down to 10. 15 is really strong. That is just as good as all the others. So yeah, that is pretty darn good. You know, I almost want more. It's kind of hard to tell on that scene because there's just so much bass coming from the subs during that demo track that it's kind of hard to judge. Everything's shaking the couch. But they're certainly not weaker tweaking the amp up a little bit than the Auras. So I think I'm fine because I, again, don't want these to stand out. They're blending in perfectly. I did not notice them at all playing them there with the subs on. It felt like a complete extension. So I guess that answers my question. I like where they're at now. All right, excellent movie for testing your levels. Yes, where I'm at right now, tweaked it just a little bit. I'm down to the 8 out of 10 on the amp. They feel absolutely perfect. They just blend right in. Here's the difference that I'm noticing right away between the Aura and the butt kickers. If you play this concert scene where they're playing Radio Gaga, you've got an undulating bass guitar, and the Aura played that, no problem. So do the butt kickers. The difference is the butt kicker is very specifically differentiating the bass guitar and the kick drum at the same time. So I'm getting the vibration of the bass guitar clear as a bell. I mean, it just feels like you're there at the concert, but then there's a little more impact from the butt kicker than the Aura. I'm getting that punch as the bass guitar is striking through. You get that punch of the kick drum. They're both coming through like they're separate, and I wasn't getting that for the Aura. It was pretty much just the overall bass notes. So I like that, and it's definitely going deeper. I'm not noticing when it drops off now. It's just completely seamless. Whatever's playing, I'm getting. It just feels right. So I'm right at the limit of the amp. If you're gonna put more in, you definitely need a bigger amp, but this is good for 4. I think you'll be very happy. I'm sure it would be a little better with a bigger amp, but I'm happy enough with the performance here. Here's the other cool thing. I got another upgrade coming in a couple days. Stay tuned for that video. I'm putting out 16 acoustic isolation feet, replacing the hard rubber feet, or hard plastic, I should say, on the couch. All the reviews online I see say it makes a huge difference, so I'm looking forward to it. I got 16, they're Buttkicker brand, for 50 bucks. Why not? So stay tuned for that video. Now let's wrap this up with the tests and we'll compare the charts. So what I did right now is I turned the amp back down to where it was at the same level, so we'll be able to judge these charts. I do expect to see the overall amplitude less here because I did feel less, but we should see more range, or at least better levels in the lower ranges of the test. And then I'll turn the amp back up to where it feels the same, and we'll see what the chart looks like. But this will be the actual true test. Okay. Done. Start. Play this at 0. And now, just the butt kickers. And now the butt kickers with the 1 tick up in the amp level. And final configuration, butt kickers, amp up, and the subs turned on. This is where it should be set. So looking through the data here, what I've done is turned on only the y-axis for the charts because that was the strongest results. X was virtually nothing, and Z was basically the same as Y, but just lower amplitude recorded. So we'll just compare the y-axis between the differences here. So this is the Aura bass shakers with the subs on compared to just the Aura. You can see it's pretty much the same. Now, I believe that you have to take these with a huge grain of salt because these are taking your seat into a huge part of the equation. The resonance of the seat, you've got something sitting on the material and the springs and all that kind of good stuff. And this just doesn't match what I feel at all. Even the Auras, it felt the same till halfway through the test. This did not feel like a quarter of the first tone. It just doesn't. So the seat is skewing these results. But anyway, we can at least judge this same configuration one to the other. So just bear in mind, this is not what it actually feels like, but we can see differences. So here's just the bass shakers, the Aura. Here is just the butt kickers without the subs. So you can see that they're putting out a hell of a lot more in the lower 20s. This second tone is even recording, is registering 3 times, 2 to 3 times at least, what the Auras are. So, I mean, that's just huge. So that's a difference right there. The remaining is still a little bit stronger. Certainly the third and fourth tones. Fourth, like I said, it's way, way down in your butt from the rest of them, but it's there. You can't say that about the Aura. It's just gone by that point. It's really diminishing here. You can feel it diminishing, and by here it's just gone. But here, it's like everything moved over a tone and a half or so. So here is this is the level to level, so this is apples to apples comparison. And now we can look at when I turn it up. And you can see that it definitely responds to that little bit of additional power. That's just going from 8 to 9 on the amp. Here is just the level to level butt kickers. And then there's with the amp up. So this is what just one tick of the amp does. You can see it doesn't really do much for those lower levels. It does on this last tone, but again, this is not what it feels like. You definitely notice once you turn it up that this is more diminished because these are even stronger when you turn it up. When it was turned down just a little bit, they were more even in your butt, just a little bit more even. And everything here is stronger. Everything there matches. But then you get down to the 10 hertz and you're like, oh, yep, that's where it's petering out. But before that was 20. Seriously, at 20, it was gone. It was obviously doing something, but you couldn't feel it. So if you want to do this with the Vibe Sensor app, just bear in mind that it's going to give you weird results. Don't think you can compare this to anybody else because of the seat. But I can tell you that the butt kickers do feel better. They go lower. They don't play as loud. They need more power. But if you got the power and you can match them, then they have that little bit more impact. And I dig that. So I'm excited to see what the isolation feet do. And we'll see you next time.